In machine learning, your data lives in files. CSV files, text files, JSON files. You need to know how to read from them and write to them. And when something goes wrong, your program should handle it gracefully instead of crashing. In this episode, we cover both, line by line. The open function opens a file and returns a file object. The first argument is the path to the file. The second argument is the mode. The letter R means read mode. Once the file is open, the read method loads the entire content as a single string. The readLines method loads each line into a list, which is useful when you want to process the file line by line. You must always call close after you are done. Not closing a file keeps it locked in memory. The with statement is the correct way to open files in Python. It automatically closes the file when the block ends, even if an error occurs inside. You no longer need to call close manually. The as keyword assigns the file object to a name you can use inside the block. The second example shows how to loop through a file line by line without loading everything into memory at once. The strip method removes the new line character at the end of each line. Write mode, indicated by the letter W, creates a new file or completely overwrites an existing one. The write method takes a string and writes it to the file. The \n adds a new line character so each write starts on a new line. Append mode, indicated by the letter A, adds content to the end of an existing file without erasing what is already there. Always be careful with write mode. If the file already has important data, use append mode to avoid losing it. CSV stands for comma-separated values. It is one of the most common formats for storing tabular data. Python's built-in CSV module handles it cleanly. The CSV reader turns each row into a list of strings. Here we loop through every row and print it. The dict reader is more powerful. It uses the first row of the file as column names and gives you each row as a dictionary. You can then access each value by its column name instead of by index. Writing a CSV file uses the CSV writer. We pass the file object to csv.writer to create a writer object. The writer row method writes one row at a time. Here we loop through our data list and write each row. The new line equals empty string argument in the open call prevents extra blank lines from appearing between rows on Windows systems. This is a common gotcha that trips up beginners on Windows. A try except block lets your program handle errors without crashing. Python runs the code inside the try block. If an error occurs, it jumps to the matching except block instead of stopping the program. Here we handle two possible errors. A value error occurs if the user types something that cannot be converted to an integer. A zero division error occurs if the user types 0, since dividing by 0 is not allowed. Each except block targets a specific error type, so you can respond to each one differently. The else block runs only when the try block completed without any error. It is the success path. Here, 10 divided by 2 succeeds, so the else block prints the result. The finally block always runs no matter what. Whether the try succeeded, failed, or the except handled an error, finally runs. Use it for cleanup tasks like closing a file or a database connection, so you can guarantee those resources are always released. You can deliberately trigger an error using the raise keyword. This is useful when you want to enforce rules inside your own functions. Here, set age raises a value error if a negative number is passed. The error message you provide is displayed when it is caught. The caller wraps the function call in a try, except block, and handles the error. Raising errors with clear messages makes your functions much easier to debug and use correctly. You now know how to open, read, and write files in Python, handle CSV data, and manage errors gracefully using try, except, else, and finally. In the next episode, we go into advanced Python concepts including generators, decorators, and the standard library. If this helped you, subscribe so you do not miss the rest of the series.